In 2017, Lakers basketball is looking to take the next step, starting with the much anticipated rookie Lonzo Ball entering his rookie year. And with the Lakers' latest additions during this offseason, this team is expected to do big things. But that all starts in the preseason. And in these 6 games, fans got a sneak peek of this year's team. So in this video, we break down the Lakers preseason, evaluating the team's players and success, and what the Lakers general management and coaches must decide upon heading into the new season. And 10 things learned from Lakers preseason 2017. First, let's take a look at the starting lineups Coach Luke Walton put out on the floor during preseason. With Brook Lopez out the first couple of preseason games with a back injury, Coach Walton adjusted with a smaller lineup in Game 1 versus the Timberwolves, starting Larry Nance Jr. at center, Randle at power forward, Brandon Ingram at the 3 position, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope at shooting guard, and rookie Lonzo Ball at point guard. This lineup went up against the new-look Timberwolves team with the addition of Jeff Teague and Jimmy Butler. This preseason game would be sloppy for both teams, as the Lakers would shoot 16% from 3 and 40% from the field with this lineup, while the Timberwolves shot much better from 3 at 30% and 41% from the floor, scoring 31 points in the first quarter. In Game 2 at home in the Staples Center versus the Nuggets, Coach Walton would replace Nance with the second-year center Ivica Zubac, as the rest of the lineup would stay the same for Game 2. While the result would end up the same, with the Lakers allowing Denver to shoot 51% from 3 in this game and 45% from the field. An ankle sprain for Lonzo Ball and a head contusion for Brandon Ingram will force both players to sit out Game 3, as they would be replaced with Tyler Ennis and Luol Deng, as Coach Luke Walton continued to experiment with the center position, starting Thomas Bryant instead of Zubac, as KCP and Julius Randle would continue to fill their roles as starters. Against this lineup, the Nuggets would score 41 first-quarter points, shooting 41% from 3 and 53% from the field, as Denver would score 122 points in total. In the next game versus the Kings, Brandon Ingram would make his return to the starting lineup, along with Larry Nance Jr., as Brook Lopez would make his debut in the preseason, with Tyler Ennis and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope filling up the backcourt positions. In Game 5 versus the Jazz, the Lakers would boast the same starting lineup as the game against the Kings, but they would give up 28 points in the first quarter. And in the final preseason game versus the Clippers, Luke Walton would place the same lineup as the game before. While some of these lineups may not be used in the regular season, the preseason gave fans insight on possible starting lineups the Lakers will put on the floor and how successful they can be against other teams. This also may play a factor into who may receive more playing time based upon their individual performances. Luke Walton may continue to experiment with different lineups throughout the season to have players compete for positions and more playing time. Speaking of individual performances, after a brilliant Summer League campaign, let's break down the Lakers' new point guard Lonzo Ball's performance during the preseason. In Game 1, Lonzo Ball would play 36 minutes, recording 5 points on 2 of 9 shooting from the field and 1 of 5 from 3, while grabbing 7 rebounds, dishing 8 assists while committing 3 turnovers. Game 2 versus the Nuggets, Lonzo Ball will record 8 points on 3 of 6 shooting from the field and 1 of 3 from 3, 3 rebounds, 4 assists, and 4 turnovers, before being ruled out the rest of preseason due to an ankle sprain. While Lonzo Ball did not play the full preseason, there are still things that we can take away from Lonzo Ball's preseason experience. While Lonzo Ball has been a great passer, he has still committed a fairly large number of turnovers as well, but as expected for many rookies trying to adjust to the NBA game. But his shooting has still been a real problem, as he's still shooting poor percentages of 33% from the field and 25% from 3 in his short time in preseason, very similar to his Summer League shooting numbers. While still not overly concerning, this is still something to be monitored over the course of the season, as it may reveal a bigger issue going forward. Speaking of bigger issues, Lonzo's health and conditioning kept him out both Summer League games and preseason games. While minor leg and ankle injuries, It is very possible that he misses games in the regular season. Keeping him healthy will be important in any type of success the Lakers plan on having this season. From one number 2 overall pick to another, Brandon Ingram was another Lakers player that Lakers fans were excited to see during this preseason. After playing only one game in Summer League, Ingram would start Game 1 of preseason with 22 minutes, scoring 10 points on 4 of 15 shooting from the field and 1 of 5 from 3, while grabbing 6 rebounds and 1 assist. In Game 2 versus the Nuggets, Ingram would continue to struggle as he would score only 9 points on 3 of 9 shooting from the field, also picking up 2 rebounds and 3 turnovers. Ingram would miss the Lakers' third preseason game due to a head contusion, but coming back for Game 4 against the Kings, Ingram would play 29 minutes, recording 5 points, 5 rebounds, 1 assist, and 4 turnovers, while shooting 1 of 6 from the field. But he would bounce back in Game 5 against the Jazz, scoring 13 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, and 31 minutes of play. Ingram showed his best game in the last game of the preseason against the Clippers, where in 21 minutes, Ingram would score 15 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists, while shooting 60% from the floor and over 60% from 3. As you can see, Ingram still struggled shooting the ball much of this preseason, but he definitely showed an increase of aggressiveness from his rookie season. While he could press the action a little too much in game, he will learn when to attack and when to slow down and get teammates involved. He showed much of that improvement in the last preseason game versus the Clippers, but can he do this consistently? And while the Lakers have struggled defensively, Ingram has been one of the lone bright spots on the defensive end, disrupting many teams with his length and creating opportunities for the Lakers in transition that they never had before. But Ingram must continue this effort consistently for the Lakers to be successful. The effort of Julius Randle this season is especially important coming into a contract year. We saw Randle working hard this summer, but would that translate into increase of numbers on the court? During the preseason, we got a glimpse of how Luke Walton plans to use Randle's game this season to its fullest potential by experimenting with different starting lineup during the preseason. In the first game, Randle would get the start, playing 21 minutes, scoring 15 points and grabbing 7 rebounds on 50% field goal shooting. In the second game versus the Denver Nuggets, Randle would continue his strong scoring and rebounding numbers, collecting 12 points and 11 rebounds and 2 assists, while hitting again half of his shots. In Game 3, Randle would suffer somewhat of a letdown, with 8 points on 3 of 8 shooting from the field, 6 rebounds, and 4 turnovers. Following this game, Coach Walton would have Randle come off the bench, as Brook Lopez would return from his injury, and Larry Nance Jr. would be inserted into the starting role. Randle would still play 27 minutes, recording the most points and rebounds by a Laker in this game, with 17 points, 10 rebounds, and 3 assists, while shooting 7 of 12 from the field. In Game 5, Randle would continue his bench effort with a 13-point, 4 rebounds, 1 assist, and 5 steals in 20 minutes of play versus the Jazz. The final preseason game would be arguably Randle's best, as he would score 15 points, grab 7 rebounds, and dish out 2 assists, while shooting 5 of 8 from the field in only 12 minutes, before he would get sidelined with a strained rib muscle. While this is what we have come to expect from Randle, a double-double threat every game, this preseason showed a glimpse of how Luke Walton plans to use Randle's versatility in small ball lineup, where Randle may be alongside Larry Nance Jr. or Kyle Kuzma in the front court, or even coming off the bench. Regardless of what happens to the starting lineup, Randle must be ready when his number is called. The Lakers are going to need him to be an enforcer inside this season, as well as being a force as a pick-and-roll option with the Lakers guards. Speaking of inside presence, acquiring Brook Lopez was a big addition to the Lakers' inside presence. Unfortunately, a back injury early in training camp limited fans' ability to see a full Lopez during preseason, but it did give fans an opportunity to see more of Ivica Zubac and what the 7-footer can provide coming into his second season. In the first game, Zubac would play 19 minutes, scoring 9 points on 4 of 6 shooting from the field, while grabbing 5 rebounds and 2 assists. Zubac wouldn't be given more than 10 minutes in any of the rest of the preseason games, so it would be tough to judge his performance. The same could be said about Thomas Bryant, but showed that they could be effective on the offensive end in the post and end pick and roll situations. The question is, with so many talented forwards, how much time will Coach Walton spend in traditional big men lineups this season? Brook Lopez is an important part of the Lakers' plan to create spacing from the center position. His ability to stretch out to the three-point line was shown almost immediately the first day he returned back into the lineup with a 12.3 rebound performance against the Kings, where Lopez would nail both of his three-pointers while playing only 14 minutes the entire game. And Brook Lopez's second game back, Lopez would play 21 minutes, but shooting a lesser percentage from the field at 27% and only scoring 7 points and 4 rebounds with 4 turnovers. In Game 6, we continue to see Lopez's growth within the offense as he would play 19 minutes, scoring 16 points on 7 of 12 shooting from the field, grabbing 4 rebounds, and even with the limited amount of preseason time, Lopez showed us much of that ability to score from the inside as well as stretch the floor from 3. Even in the small amount of minutes he played during preseason, he may have still looked a step slow in the half-court offense, but not too much of an issue. In this offseason, Magic Johnson made it clear that Clarkson will lead that 6-man role off the bench for the Lakers. In the preseason, we got to see if Clarkson can claim this role, and in Game 1, Clarkson would relieve KCP to play 22 minutes, picking up 14 points on 6 of 10 shooting from the field and 1 of 3 from three-point land, grabbing 2 rebounds, 2 assists, and 4 turnovers. In Game 4, Clarkson would play 20 minutes, putting up 10 points while shooting 3 of 6 from the field, 4 rebounds, and 2 assists. In Game 5 and Game 6, Clarkson's numbers would be pretty similar than the other. While not eye-popping numbers, the importance of Clarkson's consistency will be important in leading the Lakers bench unit. If Clarkson can keep up this consistency while the other Lakers guards such as KCP and Lonzo Ball adjust to their new environment, Coach Walton will be forced to give Clarkson more opportunities to shine. Speaking of the Lakers bench, that may be where their strength lies. With not so hidden talents anymore in Kyle Kuzma, we saw many things from Kuzma's Summer League MVP campaign translate into the preseason, showing a ton of consistency in the first few games of the preseason, but cooled off in the last game versus the Clippers. Kuzma showed off an array of offensive moves and is great at running in transition, rebounding, assisting, and defending at times. Seems to be some of his notable needs for improvement, but he recognizes his advantages rather quickly and seems to fit easily with just about anyone the Lakers put in the backcourt. With backup point guards and veterans Corey Brewer, Tyler Ennis, and Alex Caruso stepping up in the wake of Lakers injuries, preseason showed that the Lakers bench players must not be slept on and are capable of leading the team in scoring and assists on any given night. Even with the limited amount of minutes, the Lakers' best shooters and playmakers may be off the bench. Defense will be important in any type of success the Lakers will have this season. As the saying goes, good defense turns into easy offense. The Lakers got a chance this preseason to test their defense against some of the best offensive teams in the league. In the first game, the Lakers got to match up against what should be a great offensive group in the Minnesota Timberwolves. With the addition of Jeff Teague and Jimmy Butler to 2 already talented players in Karl Anthony Towns and Andrew Wiggins. While both teams would have a fairly sloppy game, the Lakers allowed the Timberwolves to shoot 30% from 3 and 41% from the field, forcing 17 turnovers. While not horrible numbers, there were many moments where the Lakers' youth and inexperience guarding NBA-level players showed, committing silly fouls and turnovers, while only shooting 16% from 3 themselves. Next were back-to-back games with the Denver Nuggets, who were expected to be one of the more offensive, high-powered teams in the league, as they were last year and retained many key pieces from a year ago. While not facing the typical Nuggets starters, the Lakers would have a fairly strong first quarter, holding the Nuggets to 26 first quarter points, but the Nuggets shooting 51% from 3 and 45% from the field, really killed any chance they had of winning. In the next game, playing against the Denver Nuggets, the Lakers would get blasted with 41 points in the first quarter by the Nuggets, as the Lakers would allow 41% from 3 and 53% from the field in this game, and a 122-104 blowout loss. The next game versus the Kings, the Lakers locked in to only allow 11 points in the first quarter, as both teams would struggle putting up points in this one, but the Lakers would still grab the win 75-69. In Game 5 versus the Jazz, both teams would shoot a fairly close percentage, as the Lakers shot 44% from the field and the Jazz shot 46% from the field, but poor decisions down the stretch of this game would cause the Lakers to fall 105-99. And in the final preseason game versus the Clippers, the Lakers would pounce to a 38-26 lead in the first quarter, holding the Clippers to under 30% from 3 and 43% from the field, claiming the win at the end. The Lakers must win these type of games by running on teams early in the first quarter, creating stops and turnovers, while surprising teams with their bench depth. But the Lakers still have real inconsistencies on effort on the night-to-night basis on defense. Focusing on taking away one area from the opponent, whether it is the three-point line or the paint, will be important in this year's team's success. While this year's preseason was shortened to 6 games instead of 8, and the Lakers' preseason roster looks fairly different than the last season, there are still players that we can evaluate and discuss their development from last season. Players such as Brandon Ingram, Julius Randle, Jordan Clarkson, Larry Nance Jr., and Ivica Zubac all played a part in last season's preseason, and their development will be important in the Lakers' future success. So let's take a look at some of the numbers these Lakers put up last season during preseason and see if we can see some development of these players from last season. Let's start with the guards. Jordan Clarkson. Jordan Clarkson would play 8 games last season, recording 13 points while shooting 41% from the field and 31% from 3, grabbing 2 rebounds and 1 assist. In this season's preseason, Clarkson would play fewer minutes but put up 11 points, 2 rebounds, and 2 assists, while shooting 52% from the field and 23% from 3. While a small sample size, Clarkson has shown an improvement in decision making and shot selection since last season, and it shows in his numbers. Brandon Ingram is another player the Lakers want to develop more from a season ago. Last season's preseason, Ingram will record 7 points, 2 rebounds, and 1 assist, while shooting 39% from the field and 38% from 3. This season, Ingram has increased his field goal attempts as well as scoring to 10 points, as well as grabbed more rebounds, but would still shoot poor percentages from the field and 3, as he would shoot 36% from the field and 25% from 3. Ingram will have better games ahead like last year's preseason, but encouraging him to take good shots and stay aggressive will be key to his growth. The second-round center, Ivica Zubac, is also a player that the Lakers plan on grooming into a valuable option in future years. But with the acquisition of Brook Lopez, Zubac's role would take a hit, but he would still be able to put up higher scoring and rebounding numbers than a year ago. In an average of 12 minutes of play, Zubac will record 3 points and 2 rebounds while hitting 56% from the field. While not huge numbers, Zubac isn't expected to be the cornerstone center right away, and should continue to thrive on the limited amount of minutes he receives, and will be the key to Zubac's development. Speaking of bigs, Nance was introduced some this preseason as the Lakers' small ball lineup big, but this preseason, Nance actually shot worse this preseason than last, scoring only 4 points and 3 rebounds in 18 minutes of play, shooting 40% from the field this season compared to his 7 points and 4 rebounds on 48% from the field and 33% from 3 last season. While his field goal and free throw percentage dipped during the preseason, it may be just that, preseason, and he may be able to pick it up in the regular season, but it should be something that the Lakers monitor during the season. Julius Randle's development is probably the most important, as he will be playing for a new contract with the Lakers. Randle showed that he was ready to make the jump as his scoring increased by 4 points this preseason while still shooting a strong 50% from the field, and showed a glimpse of that improved 3-point stroke. The question is, can Randle continue this strong effort during the regular season? While we learned a lot of things from Lakers preseason this year, there's still a lot of things and players that we didn't see that we expected to make an impact on the Lakers this season. Andrew Bogut signed to the Lakers late this offseason to ensure their inside presence. Unfortunately, due to visa issues, Bogut has been limited in both training camp and preseason, making it hard to determine what type of impact Bogut can have on this team, if any. Hopefully we will see a little of Bogut during the regular season to see if he is healthy or can make any type of impact on this team. Speaking of players that played minimal minutes during the preseason, VJ Beacham, Stephen Zimmerman, Deontay Weber, and Vander Blue are also a part of that group, which received two-way contract invites to Lakers training camp, but played little time in this year's preseason. The Lakers may have to make a decision on these players sooner or later, as they will have to cut their roster down to 14 players. The Lakers may decide to send them to their G League affiliation, the Defenders. Josh Hart, Alex Caruso, Tyler Ennis, and Thomas Bryant are notable bench players that the Lakers used consistently during this preseason that are expected to play a part of the Lakers' regular season. Backup point guard position should be an interesting battle during this season, as both Tyler Ennis and Alex Caruso both showed flashes at times this preseason, as Lonzo Ball recovered from his injury. Ennis received a couple of starts towards the end of the preseason, while Ennis put up modest preseason numbers of 4 points, 2 assists, and 1 rebound on 42% from the field and 20% from 3. Alex Caruso matched his numbers with 3 points, 4 assists, and 3 rebounds, shooting even better from the field with 45% from the field and 40% from 3. And fewer minutes played, including a 11 assist game in the preseason. Based on this, it will be interesting how Luke Walton approaches the Lakers' backup point guard minutes going forward. Speaking of position battles, the signing of KCP during this offseason was an effort to fill that starting shooting guard position, as the Lakers have focused Clarkson's role into coming off the bench. While still early in preseason, KCP has been shooting pretty poorly, to say the least. While KCP did get a couple of steals here and there, KCP hasn't really shown that he can bring the Lakers defense to a high level and wasn't in lineups at the end of games during preseason. But this just may be an issue of getting adjusted to a new team. KCP continues to struggle starting, or if the Lakers increase Clarkson's role or look for other options during this offseason. The most interesting position battles for this young Lakers team is the starting power forward position, as the Lakers boast 3 talented forwards in Kyle Kuzma, Larry Nance Jr., and Julius Randle, who all bring their own style to the game. If you look at it by just the numbers, this preseason, Kuzma has impressed with his scoring numbers, while Randle has shown that he can put up strong scoring and rebounding numbers. While Nance hasn't had the biggest numbers, his effort and hustle has definitely been noticeable in any game that he plays in. With the injury to Brook Lopez, in order to get the most out of the talented forward the Lakers have, Luke Walton experiments with different starting lineups, most notably starting Larry Nance Jr. as center, alongside Julius Randle, to see how effective this lineup can be both offensively and defensively. While this experimentation gave fairly mixed results during the preseason, as opponents weren't starting their best players, look for Luke to find ways to get all 3 into a small ball lineup at some point in the season. After all the new additions, position battles, and offseason moves, the most important question for the Lakers this season is, can they record a winning record this season with a loaded Western Conference? The Lakers would finish the preseason with just a 2-4 record, while still showing some glaring weaknesses on the defensive end of the court. They have shown that they are much better than last year's team, with additions of strong veterans mixed with budding young talent. The Lakers will look to turn their weaknesses into strengths and improve from a poor season last year. While the goal for many for this Lakers team is the playoffs, it all starts on Game 1. Based upon what we learned from the preseason, how well do you think the Lakers will fare this season? Leave it in the comments section below. But until then, it's been your boy, Johnny Walker LA, and I'm out.